Gunducky Industries is a game, and it's far from being quacktastic. Gunducky Industries is the bare bones necessities to really make a game. In it, you control a ship and you fly through various levels, defeating enemies along the way and trying to survive till the end. To say that the controls in the game are clunky would be praising them too much. It's one of those things where it's really hard to describe them unless you're playing the game, but you use both the left and right sticks to fly the vehicle, with the X doing most of the movement that matters, with the right one kind of being able to jet it in a few different directions awkwardly. Like I said, it's really hard to describe, but basically makes flying in the game a nuisance, and it doesn't really bother you in bigger open areas, but when you have to fly around tight corners, this is where it becomes more and more frustrating. Each level just has you trying to fly through and survive, taking out enemies along the way. You can hold down the button to keep firing so you don't have to keep mashing it or anything, but that's all there is. There's no power-ups, there's no speed-ups, there's no other control functionality other than movement and being able to fire your weapon. The game doesn't even keep score of enemies, so fighting them is pretty much a non-issue and you don't have to worry about it other than if they get directly in your path. You do have a health system and you'll degrade, and this changes color with your ship model in the upper left corner of the screen, and after too many hits you'll blow up and go back to the previous checkpoint, and the same goes if you run into the game's environments, though even that is a little bit iffy, as you can actually fly with your wing halfway through a mountain and be okay. It's just making sure you don't go too far into the mountain where you'll end up dying. The biggest difficulty in the game, though, is just trying to avoid certain enemies, especially when you're turning around tight corners and an enemy's right there in front of you. Enemies can fire projectiles, but their fire is usually extremely easy to dodge. The only time I'm really getting hit or dying in the game at all is because of enemies just running into me since I'm unable to maneuver around them, or I didn't see them coming because of the corners. There's a tiny bit of story at the beginning of the first level when you start it up, but that really is about it as far as plot is concerned in the game. There's a small handful of enemies and a few new ones introduced as you get farther in. Sometimes there'll be larger versions of the same enemies you've already been fighting over and over and over again. It's really hard to come up with things to even talk about with this game as it's so bare bones. One of the only real positives is that the game didn't crash on me, thankfully, while playing, and I didn't run into any other major glitches. Gunducky Industries is available now on PS4 and PC for $2.99, so thankfully not expensive, but charging even that much is too much for what you get here. It doesn't have a full trophy list or a platinum either, so it doesn't even have that going for it. Overall, the game's not egregiously bad. It's not the worst game I've ever played, but it's not so bad that it's also laughable at how bad it is. It's one of those games that you play and you're like, this is why indie games, and especially ones made in Unity, end up getting a bad reputation. It just is so bare bones and just so plain. If you were able to complete it, it's such a huge kudos that you didn't fall asleep while trying to slog through each one of the game's levels. Even at the low price point, it's really hard for me to recommend this game at all, and I'm going to be giving it a 1 out of 10. But anyway, guys, it's going to wrap up this review. I'd like to thank you for watching, and of course, I hope you enjoyed.